Hi, my name is Alicia Van Duke, and this is my digital portfolio for spring of 2018. Today, I'm going to talk to you about a technology lesson that I taught, a technology tool project that I had my students practice using, a lesson that I observed, and then a website that I found. So for my technology lesson, I did it with an app called Clicker Connect, and I did it with my summer school class for students who have autism in grades 2nd through 5th grade. And the reason that I chose this app to kind of teach them how to use is because I want them to be able to go home and communicate with their parents what they did for the day. A lot of times students with autism do struggle to communicate what they did. So this is a way for the parent and the teacher and the student to kind of communicate what went on throughout their day. So how it worked is that I first had to model how the students would fill out each of the pages. So it would say like the weather is, and there would be a bunch of options. So they would have to click sunny and then put period. And then that would show up on the board. And then I modeled how to do this for each of the pages. And then at the end, they were able to try, and they created their very own note home that kind of described what they did, what they ate, what their favorite part of the day was, which was awesome. And some of the positives was that I used a lot of visuals, so they were able to learn new vocabulary. I gave them time, or I helped them to be able to communicate with their family, which is super important even for EL learners. They were also exposed to technology. Some of the improvements was that, I probably would have used a little bit more visuals for some of the words that were talked about, such as like happy, sad, excited. And the EL relevance was that I have a student with autism who is an EL, and they speak Spanish in the home, and it's already very difficult for him to communicate verbally. So this would give the family a way to talk with him and communicate with him because there is pictures involved. And then some of the WIDA standards that it addressed is that they have to share basic information with peers or parents and family, and then express basic needs and conditions. The second part of my portfolio is that I taught my students how to use Prezi. So I did this before the end of the school year ended with my previous 3rd through 5th grade students. 3 of them are EL learners, and we did it on a poetry unit where they had to write similes and metaphors, and then they had to create a Prezi presentation explaining the poem and the different parts. So I have 2 examples of students who did it, which they did a really nice job. So here is an example. This might go back. Yeah, so we're going to go backwards real quick. Sorry. But how it worked was they had to choose 3 of their metaphors, and then each part is set up the same. They would write down what their metaphor was, and then they would write what they were comparing and what the meaning of their metaphor was and use pictures. And visuals to kind of help. So that was one example. And then this was another one of my EL learners who struggles a lot with language, but she did hers with similes, and it's set up the same exact way. And overall, I thought that they did a really nice job. One of the pros of, using this is that it really does help the students develop language, especially understanding the English language and how it's very different, and how some things don't always mean what they are meant to be. So that really helped them improve their language and kind of how words can mean different things. It helped them, use technology, obviously, practice presenting, and it was very fun and engaging for my students. However, some improvements would be, to kind of decrease the amount of time it took to teach Prezi. Maybe, practice this at the beginning of the year so it's not as like tedious throughout the year, because it was very frustrating for some of my students to figure out how to use the app and how to the presentation. And then some of the EL relevances was that, they had to practice multiple forms of writing. So instead of just using a narrative or persuasive, now they had to practice poetry. They had to apply content-based information to new contexts. And then they also had to present content-based information. So overall, I really enjoyed teaching them and having the students practice. I thought it was really beneficial, and I really want to do it again in the future. And then the third part was a lesson that I observed. So I went into a second grade general education classroom where the students were kind of putting together their Magic Treehouse novels for their presentations. So the teacher gave them 3, 4-ish different options where they could, kind of type a summary on an app, where they could speak their summary into the app, where they could create a Flipgrid, or where they could use Book Creator. And here is this was what they had already done, so they had to create a visual for their book reports. And then with the lesson I observed, the teacher kind of modeled how to take all that they learned and put it into a presentation using like Book Creator, or put it into like a book report using just a typical summary. The positives of this lesson was that it was highly differentiated. The students had to practice presenting. There was group work. There was multiple means to demonstrate knowledge. If they didn't feel comfortable presenting, they could create a Flipgrid that kind of helped them feel more comfortable with, organizing their thoughts. In terms of improvements, I didn't really see much that needed to be improved. I thought it was really nice, nicely organized, and flowed nicely throughout the lesson. I said maybe try individually. A lot of the students got to work together in groups. Then the EL relevance was that they got to use academic vocabulary in class discussions, express and support their ideas with examples, give oral presentations and on content-based topics, and then initiate conversation with peers. Okay, and then the final part of my portfolio is a website that I found called Storyboard That. It's a custom comic book creator, and I loved this website. Here's a comic book that I created, and when I created, I thought of, a student who had to write a narrative and how they might write it on, picking out their Halloween costume. So I created how a comic book strip, I guess, how the girls went to the store, they picked out their costumes, and then they went trick-or-treating. So here's the app, and it's awesome. So you can go in and you can select all the scenes that you want. Then you go in and you select the characters that you want to put in the comic strip, and then the thought bubbles, and it's very customizable. You can change any of the, the table's color, or you can change the color of her dress to pink or red. You can also enter in text. There's so many different things, and it's super easy to use and manipulate, which is awesome. So some of the positives, obviously, there's tons of options. It's very customizable. You can create pretty much anything you want. Very interactive. For the most part, it's free, especially with what you get for the free part. And it's very easy to create, and it would really help students to kind of express their ideas through a non-threatening way. One improvement that I guess I would say would be that you have to pay for a premium version, but the free and basic version is pretty awesome. So I wouldn't even recommend paying for the premium version. The EL relevance is that it can be used as an enrichment activity to kind of enhance, maybe like a book report. If the students need to summarize what they read, they could create a comic strip for it. Or it could help students express their ideas through pictures that help promote writing skills. So I think of it as like if a student's really struggling to think of what to write, have them create a comic strip first and then verbally talk about the pictures and then write. That'll help them kind of gather their thoughts. And then it was also super highly engaging, I think, and it's motivating. Kids these days love comic strips. So overall, that is my portfolio. I really enjoyed learning about different technology tools that I can implement in my classroom and see what other people have done as well. Thank you.